Now you're going.
Well, okay, you started early.
Yeah.
But you're cheating. Okay, so just as an introduction, I'm Evan Koslow, and basically what I do is I run a company locally called Gabet, okay? And we actually have people here from actually 2 other companies that operate, actually run operations against certain inventions that we've created, okay? So they may be working on textile fibers, or they may be working, actually no one's here for Advantage, but let's say electronics or chemical process industry equipment or whatever, okay? So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to try to explain what we do, because what we do is we methodically invent, okay? And we do it over and over and over again, okay? And that's actually kind of hard, if you think about it. We actually did an exercise today with the students. I asked the marketing students to come in, and we sat around for a whole hour, and I said, okay, I want you to invent a $100 million idea right now. Okay, $100 million. You know, one guy had lawn care situation. Not $100 million. And I want it now. Not going to happen, right? No, it's not going to happen. Okay, and there's a reason, and we dissected why can't you do that? If you were, you wouldn't be here. You'd be obviously, in your penthouse suite, running, a bank of phones and all that. So why can't you invent at will? I can actually tell you 2 reasons. One is you can't invent at will because, one, it takes a certain type of personality. We've studied this, and people who do that have a personality trait. And number 2, it takes training, of course, but most importantly, it takes a certain type of education. And that education is not taught in schools. What do schools do? You're in Waterloo. We all went to school. I went to school. I have a PhD. I went to lots of school. Okay, I overdid it probably, I have too many degrees. I didn't learn enough about the fact I wasn't learning the right way until too late. So what's the problem with modern education? I mean, if you take a whack.
I mean, you're basically studying the same thing as 200 people in the same class as you. So it's not like you're learning anything unique. I mean, everything in the same section is learning the same thing. Apart from that, I don't really think that school really, it teaches you, it gives you an education, but I don't think it trains you enough for the outside world. Apart from the fact that it helps you manage your time and just get the building blocks together for the real world.
What he said. But he said it, I'll put it even more succinctly. It's mass produced. Okay? You say, hey, everybody else is getting the same education. And if everybody has the same education, what's likely to happen? We're all going to have the same ideas. Okay? So the educational system that you exist in today, the education experience that you're experiencing, was created in the, early 1800s, and has really unchanged since the Industrial Revolution. Okay? We have chemistry department, physics department, English department, in the olden days, Greek, Latin. Okay, it's mass produced. And what was this designed to do?
Teach as many people as possible.
Stamp them out. We need workers. We don't need creative people. By the way, they're a nuisance. What we really want are mass-produced workers with skills, right? And in fact, if you really think about it, what do the people here at Waterloo try to tell you? You're going to get a good job, right? You're going to be qualified for the workforce. Go on, right? You're ready for the industry, right? All right. Now, so what effectively you're participating in is a 200-year-old process, and yet, what are we playing with today? Mass communication, Twitter, Facebook, blah, 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 and that's the low-end stuff, right? So the point is that 200 years later, you're experiencing an educational process that was designed to turn out someone completely different, okay? So every lecturer I've actually looked at that talks about this topic, by the way, give some pizza. Don't be embarrassed, come on, get a pizza. I'll eat mine if you eat yours. So, bottom line is that educational process is not going to turn out inventive. Okay? Inventors are not trained that way, and everyone agrees. They're not trained that way. Now, there are 2 types of inventors. There's the one-off inventor. Okay? Very successful people. They invent one good invention, made a lot of money, and then go off to Bermuda. Okay? That is not what we're going to talk about today. What we're going to talk about today is someone who can, at will, invent and create business concepts all the time. Okay? And I mean do it lightning fast all the time, right? As a business. So if you call me into a meeting, and I used to do this, I was just explaining, there used to be a pile of firms in the state of Connecticut in the United States who used to bring people like myself in, they knew people like us, and they'd say, well, I'd like you to invent, something, this little bottle has a powder in it, and it has the following properties, can you invent something with it? And yes, sure, here's the following 10 ideas, boom, 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 over and over, okay? And they went to production and had fun. Eventually, one of the clients went around the guy and said, Evan, come on up. Can you do that all the time? Yes, yes. Why don't we go into business together? And you know what? That ended up being a relationship with a company called Exxon. And they formed a relationship with me which lasted quite a long time. And we built a few businesses together. Okay, so the point is that you want to probably not be a one-off, although that would be fun. And who would like to be a one-off and just do it once and get out of town, okay? Okay, one-off inventors are not special, okay? Because everyone can have a good idea once in their life, you can imagine. Okay, that's not systematic, that happens to be what? Luck, okay? So if you want to do it one-off, I'm really not going to be able to help you, good luck, okay? You need good luck. But what you probably want to do is more than be that. For example, what did good old Edison say about invention? 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. There was one little thing he forgot. It's not 1%, 99%. It's 1/10 of 1% inspiration. That will happen in approximately 3-4 minutes. A good inventor will invent usually the concept within a few minutes. Then it will be 30% perspiration and 70% marketing. Okay, he didn't believe in marketing, right? Edison actually was a lousy marketer. When you think of the richest man in the world, is Edison amongst them? No. Why? He wasn't a very good businessman. Okay? Today, don't try to invent without being a good businessman. We come upon people who invent and are not good businessmen all the time. We have lots and lots of studies where we study those kind of people. And they range from bad businessmen to totally deranged. And we actually have a whole set of syndromes that we describe people who invent but cannot operate. We call it inventor sickness. Okay? Inventor sickness is actually a real syndrome, and we talk about it all the time. When we have a visitor to our company and the person presents, we can diagnose the person in about 10 minutes. Ooh, type 3 inventor sickness. Yeah. Okay. And we're going to have a visitor tomorrow who's one of the great examples of inventor sickness. I mean, a friend of mine who's very sick. Sorry to say. Okay? It's really a serious condition. So what we're going to do is we don't want to be that. And knowing what causes that is very important, because that actually is where most good inventions end up. Inventor sickness. It's actually about 60% of people will go right into inventor sickness. And that's lethal. Depending on what type you have, it could be very, very bad experience. Okay? So here's the point. You want to invent. You want to perspire as little as possible. And you probably need to have really good business sense. And the combination is extremely rare. Okay? That's the problem. So because one human being often will not have all those skills, it's usual that you try to form partnerships. So a team. But what do you get when you have a team? Partners. And partners can be good, and they can be bad. I have myself suffered from bad partners. Now, I've been partnered with Exxon.
Can you give us some stories?
Okay, yeah, I've been partnered with Exxon. They were great. I've been partnered with Bob Guccione. You know who he is? The owner of Penthouse magazine. We owned that magazine together. Okay, so Bob Guccione is not going to be a normal partner. Not going to be, right? He's going to be funny. Okay, but I've had lawyers for partners. That was the worst experience. Bob was actually pretty nice. And also, I was a bachelor at the time. So, yeah, there's a long story there. So, no, I have been partnered with a totally strange and unusual partners, the largest company in the world, and, with a pornography guy. So, that's a very wide range. If you can have partners of that scale and that range, you probably are good at partnering. The only partners I ever really had a problem with were my brother and my lawyer, okay? Don't partner with lawyers.
Why not?
They litigate. They like to litigate. They like to argue, okay? What we want are partners who are totally devoted to what? Supporting the enterprise, okay? Not trying to say, that's mine. No, that's mine. That's mine. No, yeah, forget that. Okay, so what you really want is, the threat is that when you take on partners, you take on another person that you may not understand. You understand yourself, and you yourself could be a big problem, okay? But the point is that you're fighting all these different issues. So what we're going to talk about today, and this is a prelude, and you're supposed to really get involved, okay? Is, and since it's a small group, thank God, I was really worried there was going to be like 7 of us, 20 of you, that would be ugly. Are more people coming?
Yeah.
Shit. It's one of ours. Hey, Christine.
Hi. Grab a pizza if you like.
So anyway, the idea is that we're going to get systematic at 7, okay? But really, the idea is to understand that inventing is a unique skill, and you're not being prepared for it, okay? Just face reality. Bill Buxton, when he gave the talk at Fusion, pretty much said something similar, right? If you're in academia, do what academics do. But if you want to be innovative, right, he said 2 things. One is, watch out, the college educational system is not well addressed at that. And B, he also warned one more thing, leave Canada. Which is not funny. Okay, you're probably in the wrong country. Okay, Canada doesn't really have the majority of the resources required to support entrepreneurs. Okay, what's it missing? What's Canada missing?
Large VCs.
Money.
Money! Cash! Okay? Can't be a good businessman without OPM. OPM is actually a technical term. It means other people's money. Okay? OPM is the lubricant for all business, but in the venture world, it's absolutely crucial. And there are only a few countries in the world that have really serious venture capital communities. Okay? And one of them is your adjacent neighbor, United States, where I come from. And that's where money is, okay? So what Bill Buxton said is, if you have a really good idea, get out of Canada. Okay? Now there is no venture capital of substance in all of Ontario. And Ontario is where the industrial development is, right? So, I mean, you have to go to Toronto to find some venture capital, and the amount is trivial. Trivial, okay? So realize that one of the things is, if you had a good idea, you're doomed.
Well, it depends what type of idea. If you have like an industrial type idea, then you're doomed. But I'm starting something myself. It's software. I can code software.
Ah, yes. You're from the special class of software where the whole books are written about, you don't need anything, you just, right, okay. And we'll get to that.
Well, not exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's all viral and blah, blah, blah. I mean, okay, so software has entered into a unique niche of entrepreneurialism because it doesn't need factories and bricks and all this kind of thing. Okay, we'll talk about that a little bit because we own a few software companies. But we don't do apps and we don't do software. Okay? What we like to do is have something called an algorithm. We like to have something that can be patented and protected and controlled. And when you don't have that, you're really in deep trouble. You're sort of depending upon copyright law. Not good. By the way, Bucks Pizza.
Sweet.
I'm going to stop so that anybody who's hesitating to get another piece of pizza will not hesitate to come up against more, okay? Come on, stop. Get your pizza.
Sure, I'll come on. Get it?
Run over and get it. Come on. Give in to, give in. That's why they created litigation.
Like this.
Yeah. engineered. Everybody's going to know what it's all about. Of course, patent by nature has to reveal completely this character. Right. So why did you patent? Okay? And I'll tell you right now, he says, many times I'd like to not patent. And he's absolutely right. Look at Coca-Cola, right? Not patented. Very well protected brand, okay? How did they do that and why did they do that? I'll give you the single word that's most important for figuring out when you patent and when you don't patent is the word signature. Okay? Now, signature, why does that word come up? If I have a patent on a process that makes something, but it leaves no signature of whether my process was used or some other process was used, how do I enforce it? If the other guy uses my patent and I have no way to prove that he used my process, I cannot even take him to court. I have no evidence, right? You need a signature. If your patent will result in a process or a product where you cannot tell if the person is infringing your patent, the patent isn't worth the paper it's written on. Okay?
How much is it?
The word, technical word is signature.
How much is the patent?
Patent to obtain? Well, it depends. I mean, a single country patent might be very cheap. You know, if you write it yourself and use a patent agent and do everything like really parsimonious, $3,000. If you want to go multinational, go wild with the lawyers, you know, really go wild, okay, you might be up at around $100,000.
Well, there's also a strategy behind patents that you always want to patent ideas around that patent so no one can copy that.
We could, this whole conversation, we could spend like a week on patents, because patent law is hugely complicated. Some of you are in software. Patent law related to software is hugely complicated. Patent law related to biotech patents is now completely complex because people are what? Looking at a genome, picking out a gene and saying, hey, I invented that gene. Is that going to be legal? No, it's not legal. Okay, so they've passed a ruling that no, you cannot patent a gene. You know, that squirrel had that gene before you had it, okay? Okay, so the point is that that's not going to happen. So patent law is incredibly complicated because we're moving into all kinds of, like, what is an algorithm? Like, people are trying to, what's the most common patent that people are always doing now? Business method patents. Okay, business method patents are great. Okay, question, very important question. I'm going to give you the answer by just asking it. Which way do you make more money, by inventing or inventing new business methods? Okay, let's just, wait a second.
Business methods.
Business methods are much more valuable than inventions, okay? I haven't done many inventions. They have marginal value. However, wrapped around them, a business method, lethal. Lethal. We made a ton of money. Michael was with me. Michael's worked with me for a long, long time.
Can you give us an example of a business method?
Okay. Business method. Okay, I'll give you an example of how you take an ordinary invention and you amplify it, then leverage it, then do this, then do that, okay? So we had an invention on a trivial product. It looks something sort of like a right circular cylinder with a hollow annulus. It's made of a black material called activated carbon, bonded with a polyethylene binder, and made into cylinders. Trivial. Composition of matter, process by which it's made. Every water filter sold to a consumer uses it today. Oh, we invented that. Carbon block technology. Your Procter & Gamble product, your Breville product, your General Electric product. Every product in pretty much the world uses it, okay? And we invented the process by which that's made. That turned out to be a couple $1 billion industry today. All right, trivial invention, crap. Okay, is it high tech? No. Is it simple? Relatively speaking. I mean, you know, we got a pile of patents on it and went out and took over the planet. Knocked everybody out. We were making millions of these things, okay? But how did we really make money?
Licensing?
How we sold it. Okay? Most people will say, I've invented a better filter, now I'm going to go around and try to sell it. We often see that. Linear thinking. I'm going to simply sell my invention. No, stop. Think. No, why don't you not sell it? Why don't we sell it to people who already are in the market? So we went out and did something called the OEM strategy, yes?
Because those people already have the distribution into place, already have the marketing, they have brand.
Yeah, our analogy is there's 100 people selling water filters, and they're engaged in what would be called a multinational world war. And we just invented really good bullets. So we want them to compete using our bullets, our brand of bullets. And we had invented a really cool way of making filter bullets. So what we wanted them to do is everybody to use our product. Now we have 4 advantages. And then you have to have, I used to say there were 3 critical features to any invention, and there are really 4. I've decided to add 1 more. One is, if you pick an idea, have the following 4. Write this down. This is the only good thing for the day. It's got to be cost effective. If possible, it has to be way below the cost of the next guy. B, it better not be equal in performance, it better be demonstrably superior. C, this is getting much more subtle. After the first 2, everybody gets it. Yeah, it's cheaper and it's better. What else? What are the other 2? And they're really, 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 really important. And they're subtle. The next one is that you want your product to be produced with a process that has unusually low capital cost. We talked about that, right? We talked about Apple. What did Bill Buxton say about Apple? No one understood what the hell he was talking about that lecture at Fusion. But I said, watch out, that's Bill Buxton, and he's telling you something you don't even know how good he's telling you. He's telling you something really good. What is that he and Microsoft has a small R&D budget of around $6.5 billion. And they looked at the Apple products and gasped. They realized something really scary. And what did Microsoft do when they looked at the Apple products for the first time in a really deep way? They realized that they had the feature 3. Feature 3, okay? And what did they do? They withdrew from everything they could think of from interacting with Apple. They said, withdraw from the phone, we're not building a phone, get out of there right away, get out of there now. Don't go near iPhone. Why did they do that? It's a big company, right? Why did they just cede it immediately? They realized they were up against a group of guys who had gestalt well beyond what they had ever seen before. Forget Nokia, forget the other guys, forget Ring. What they were seeing was something really scary, and they had that 3rd feature. There's a hidden element to the iPhone, and it's a hidden element on the iPad. And what that element is that they had figured that out. That the capital cost of the manufacturing process, the speed and the scalability of the technology was well beyond anything they had ever seen before, and they realized they would never match it. They immediately withdrew. What the hell am I talking about? We did this, and it works out. Here's where we get interesting. Let's say I have a great technology, and I want to dominate the earth. It has to be what? We said cheap, abbreviate, cheap, good. It's a good product. Maybe even really, really good. But what else does it have to have? This is the hard part. It has to have low capital cost. Low capital cost meaning the manufacturing. Now, when I say low, I'm not saying 10% better. I'm not saying 50% better. I'm saying really, really deeply bad better. When you get to some very low capital cost for the capital equipment, you get to something where we did it. We were down 50-fold. Okay, we were down 50-fold. That means that the competitor had to spend 50 times more money to make the same quantity of product. That's a nice invention. That's the one we don't patent. We patent the obvious, and this was hidden. That's the iPhone. What did Microsoft see? That. The iPhone is made by a manufacturing process which scales totally different from other phones. Yeah.
I actually have and a question related to that. It's made, the iPhone is made by Foxconn in Taiwan, and there are a few manufacturers that use Foxconn, HP if I'm not wrong. So all these companies are actually able to.
Who makes the chips?
Sorry?
Who makes the chips for the iPhone? Apple.
Oh,
Apple controls the chips. They're the only phone manufacturer that doesn't buy Qualcomm chips.
they actually bought AMD.
But they control all. I won't go into it. Bottom line is, there's a deeper level. It won't be obvious. It's not who's assembling it. It's something else. Okay? So here's the point. We'll do my example because iPhone is the iPhone world, okay? In my example, we drove it down by 50-fold. So we used to buy a machine that cost $100,000 to produce the product. Now we were producing machines for $2,000. But our competitor, we've made sure, is fully aware from our patents that the $100,000 machine is an excellent machine and produces a great product. We, in fact, we even went to trade shows. Look at this $100,000 machine spinning out product. We actually advertised. We have the best $100,000 machines around. Were we using them? No. We were not. We got rid of those machines long ago. The manufacturer of machines was willing to go along with the lie. He was selling machines like crazy to our competitors. But they were buying $100,000 machines, and we were producing $2,000 machines that were doing the same thing. Uh-oh. Now, here's how you play it. If my equipment costs 50 times less, I have 10 machines, my competitor has 10 machines? No. Do I have 100 machines? Or hundreds of machines, and he has 10? Yes. So what we do is we take this, and whereas the competitor really did have about 20 machines, we have 450. Wow, that's a lot of machines. We probably don't have enough market to fill all those machines. But what have we achieved? We've achieved something very magical. Now it gets interesting. The low-cost capital equipment allows me to do what in my factory? We used to call this factory Death Star. Death Star. Remember the Death Star? You know, any little planet in its way, just turn it around and aim and fire. Planet gone. Well, Death Star was this factory. How fast could we make product in demand against the market?
Faster than just in time.
Light speed. Did we need inventory? No. Got rid of working capital. Low-cost capital equipment eliminated working capital. What were we doing? We were systematically removing the entire need for capital inside the company. We were now able to produce product instantaneously. We called that the virtual inventory system. The product emerged so quickly from the production lines that if you put in an order, you would get the order and you would think, oh God, they keep a lot of stuff in inventory. No, it was produced yesterday. Because we have so many machines, we could literally take the Death Star and what happened to that? You know what happened? It got worse. We were surrounded by much larger adversaries. They said, this little company, they're an upstart with this technology. We're going to go after them. So they went into a price war with us. Okay. We couldn't believe it. Now, a price war. This is a general purpose curve. This is demand, and this is price. Every product follows something like this curve. If the price is really high, there isn't much demand for your product. If the price is really low, there's insanely high demand. Okay? Very simple price-demand curve. You'd like to understand that. Now, we were here, and this competitor decides that he wants to enter into a price war with us. And he's really gotten angry. He's pissed. So what he's going to do is he puts an agent into our company, breaks into our computers, gets the name of our customer, what we're selling to them, and at what price. He's got everything he needs to do a price war. He knows who our customer is, what they're buying, and the price that we're selling it. So it's perfect. He has targeted price war. Nirvana. One little problem. With this technique, we have only 40% of his cost to produce the product. He knows exactly how to implement a price war, except one thing, he got into our sales information, not our manufacturing information. He has now fallen into what would be called by the United States Marines the kill zone. Okay? He launches a price war. Demand begins to rapidly rise as he moves down this price curve. Understand? Demand rises sixfold. What are we standing on? Death Star. What does Death Star do? It produces lots and lots of product very inexpensively without working capital. And what has this guy done? He has walked into a situation where demand has risen sixfold and he has to buy, he has only 20 little machines. He has no reserve capacity. He's also producing what? Eventually, when he walks down that curve long enough, what has he done? He's walked into what? Losses. He's now below where he can produce economically, right? And what are we at? 50% margin still. 50% margin, infinite firepower to produce as much product as necessary. What did we do? We bankrupted them.
Put them on the business.
And we didn't even try. They did it all themselves. We were like, they're self-destructing. Turn Death Star onto the next planet. Move on to the next division. And we did. Next planet. Okay, first guy gone. Second guy moving up, okay? We literally blasted people out of existence. We called it Death Star for a reason.
Why did you lower your prices in the beginning?
Yes, that was my question actually. Why don't you engage actually in a price war?
Ah,
Because you can
my caller. You guys are great. We call that the black hole attack. This guy happened to be just good enough to fall into the black hole. The black hole attack. Okay? 3 features, great product, low cost of capital. What is the attack that you're describing? Called the black hole attack. The black hole attack is where the guy isn't that stupid. He fell into my black hole. I mean, how many times? The normal guy, however, you have to bring the black hole to him. And that's what you did. And we can show you in our full class, what we do is we teach you what is the increment that you keep on lowering to drive the person into a black hole. Now let me show you what the black hole does. If I move this way in price, demand goes up. Everybody's margin goes down. Okay, so you want to move the demand curve and you want to move the margin. Now here's the reason there's an actual mathematical excellence to the black hole attack. Because when price goes down, the competitor really has a choice. I can keep my prices and I will lose market share. Or I will move left and I will match that price, but I will lose margin. So I'm either losing market share or I'm losing margin. I'm not winning. Which is the correct way to go? Yeah.
lose market share but keep your profit margin.
No.
Oh, other people? Yeah.
I think it's better to lose your margin because if you get a better market share, you gain profit by volume.
Anybody else? Any other criticism?
I would agree.
This is
with that.
interesting. That lots of
I would
opinions.
agree with that. Basically, I would choose to lose margin because if I can attract a larger market share in the long run, if they really like my product, they can be loyal towards my product, and even if I increase prices later on, they might come back to me and just stick to my product. So I might risk losing money for a short while, but in the long run, it might be beneficial for me.
Like to differentiate. I don't want to be in the same market in the first place.
Well, that's a better answer because the actual answer of a black hole attack is it doesn't matter. Okay? Black hole attack means you're going to be sucked in and you're dead anyway. Okay? It's not like you're going to survive. It's whether you want to die by one means or another. We're either going to be stretched into a pretzel. Okay, everybody knows how things, you're not going to make it. Okay? So the problem is you're either going to go and you're going to drop your prices until what? You have lost your margin. And because this person has these advantages, you are going to lose it. Or B, you hold your price and all the market walks away. One way or the other, when the market walks away sufficiently, you don't have enough volume to keep your factory open, and you're going to be gone anyway. You're obsolete. So the point is, a black hole attack is an attack which has an absolute answer. You cannot survive. Okay? So black hole attacks must have these three characteristics. No one can survive that attack. Yeah.
Sorry, on
process, then why you will lose our market? Because if you stick to the price, you still have a market. Like if you do the market analysis, some people just propose a high price. It shows that it's premium, right? And if the other person jumps the price, even it's a better product, they might not be doing a good enough marketing to attract people. Say if I have a good, really good product in the dollar store, maybe someone won't share.
What you're saying is I'll still find a niche, I'll still survive, and I'm going to survive as a shadow of myself. And so effectively what we're saying is in a real world though, most people if they lose 50% or 60 or 70% of their volume, they're going to have to shut their doors. It's not going to be survivable. So when how many people are still using typewriters? Anybody own a typewriter? No, probably not. It's not going to survive. So
Can you adopt a blue ocean strategy and serve markets that were probably not served before?
well, you try to escape. Yes, let's try to find someone who doesn't know where the right place to buy. So yeah, all that happens, but eventually black holes always work. Okay? The purpose of a black hole is not that you're not going to win. The point of the black hole is you didn't lower the price more than you needed to win. That's actually a mathematically correct way to go. Do I want to go from this price to here? Have I left money on the table? Yes. So what is the correct increment and what is the right time between increments to make it clear that the other guy's falling into a black hole? You can actually calculate it depending on the price elasticity of the product. Okay?
Can a black hole not be implemented into any market, or is it just like a specific type of market? Or
This happens, software. I don't know if it can work in software, because software is a different modality entirely. But in any product where you're selling product and you're selling a commodity or whatever, it can work. And we call that a black hole attack. The first example is an example of someone who kicked themselves and fell into it. But normally people don't want to fall into black holes.
like, why doesn't it happen to companies like cell phone companies or computer firms or
One of the beauties of black holes is that small firms, we were a startup, can take on billion-dollar companies and wipe them all off the map. And we did. We wiped them all off the map. There was no survivors. There was one guy who survived by infringing. We sued them. We got him for about $40 million, and they took a license from us. And that was the end of that. Effectively, okay, we got all the money. Leave him alone, okay? Right? There's one guy left. There was only one person left, and he's sort of like, okay. We literally destroyed everything about his life, and then we said, okay, we'll give you a license, and they went on, right? And they moved to China. It was bad, okay? But here's the point. A couple things. One is, what was the quality of invention that I wanted? I wanted no compromises. Don't compromise. Best product. Great product. Price, right? I have the lowest costs. I have the best product. I have the lowest cost of capital. I can scale up like crazy, faster than anybody, because my cost of scale are hugely reduced, right? I've eliminated working capital because I can scale so fast, right? Now, there's the fourth element. Yeah.
Before you continue, you say that you bought 450 just to reduce your working capital. A lot of companies, what they do is just that they outsource to reduce their working capital. Is that what you guys did, or?
It's as if you were a knight and you just decided, no, I'm not going to use my sword anymore, I'm just going to use my dagger. The next guy's coming with this thing, okay? You don't want to outsource in most cases, and I'll tell you why. You lose control, and you lose the ability to influence a huge spectrum of the possibilities that would normally be opportunities for you to excel. Okay? So people do it, especially in technologies where you're turning the production line over and over and over again, right? But in many cases, in what we were doing, you weren't doing that.
So obviously, achieving low cost capital is one of the main important things for a company. How do you achieve that?
Different level of inventing. So what we did is we invented. What we didn't tell people is that we didn't stop inventing. Okay, we got 4 patents. 4 patents. And interesting about our kind of company is the first thing is patents. It's like house. I often use this example. When he says, what's the problem with patients, right? They always lie. Okay? Great inventions are great inventions and they lie. Okay? So what we said is, You can build this beautiful invention on this $100,000 machine, and here's the model number. And if you're crazy enough to listen to us, proceed. What happened is that we literally, Michael will agree, we invented, I'll call it a type of extruder. Then we invented Ators. Then we invented this, invented that, invented this, invented that. They got better and better and better and better. And the cost of production, cost of labor, and everything went so low that people went to us and said, you should move to China. Okay, I said, I used to take them to the control room. There's a big factory. Big, 450 machines working in this factory. And they said, well, when do you start with the factory? Oh, it's fully operational. How can you tell? Well, there's a guy way over there on aisle 3. He's running the factory. There's no labor. Oh, that guy? Yeah, aisle 3. You can see him there. He's way in the back. Oh, he's running the whole factory? Yeah. Was there much incentive to move to China? A poor guy, one guy. I'm going to take his job away? No, I don't think so. Okay. Well, we're going to move the factory because of one job? No. So we actually had only 2 guys, actually. 2 guys. There was one guy on aisle 3 and one guy over there. But I mean, the point is, there were 2 guys running the whole factory.
So that's because it's capital intensive versus.
Did I say capital or labor or everything? Everything was invented away. We invented a machine called Ators. You know what it did? It collected everything, and I can't go into it. It's like, why bother? The details were, the cost went to zip. Okay, labor was really such a small percentage of the cost, it was gone. Okay? So what we did is we invented. Did any of these things ever get into a patent? No. That's going to be a big problem, right?
So if I have it right, what you guys basically did is that you guys basically cut down all your capital by making your own technologies to automate stuff so that people don't have to do it.
Not only automate, but that the absolute... See, here's the problem with automation. Okay, we're going to make this product, and our volume's increasing. Let's spend $20 million to automate. No. If you spend $20 million, I'm now paying a bank a lot of money, right? So I have to finance all that automation. No. Invent. Invent at another level. First, we invented the product and the process. Then what did we invent? A better piece of machinery to execute the process. Then a better piece of machinery to help that piece of machinery, and so on and so on and so on and so forth. Now, did any of these leave a signature? No. They were all lacking in signature. Every innovation after the first were invisible. Invisible. And so what happened is there was no signature. Did the Ator leave a signature? No. Did the new extruder leave a signature? No. Did anything leave a signature? No. So did anybody have any ability to dissect the product and know how much trouble they were in? No. Did the iPhone have that property? Yes. What did Microsoft see? They saw something that frightened them, and they said, we're out of here. Okay. So what happens is, this is all linked. Now, their 4th feature. You keep on stopping me from telling you the magic 4th feature. I only added this magic 4th feature in the last day or 2 because I decided that it's so important that I really want to mention it. And it's really business method. Okay? So let's just go through. Cheap, good, low cost capital of equipment so that we scale. Okay? Remember, we need to invent, but then we need to scale. Remember, there's not going to be much future to the computer industry if we can only make 2 or 3 a year, right? You need to scale up. Scaling is very important. It's really what makes and breaks companies. If you cannot scale the technology, then it usually dies in the laboratory or dies in the first few markets, right? You need scalability. But the 4th thing is interesting, and I use the simple word annuity. Okay? Now, what does that mean? It means I always tell people who come to me with new business ideas, they come to me and they say, I'm going to sell my invention, and it's going to be $150 a piece, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going, okay, but after you sold it, do you have any follow-on relationship with the customer whatsoever? No. So you mean to say I have to establish a new customer relationship every time I sell a $150 item? Yes. Does the marketing scale? No. Let me give you an example, an extreme example, and you will see the beauty of an annuity. We, a small company, beat a gigantic company. Didn't beat them, we taught them a lesson.
Which company was it?
This one was Electrolux. Okay, Electrolux is not the vacuum cleaner company, it's the largest appliance company in the world in Sweden, okay? So they own Frigidaire, they own all these things, okay? So Electrolux comes to us, and I'm gonna give you the economics. They sell a refrigerator, and it's a $1,000 item, and unfortunately refrigerators are a highly competitive market, so the net profit that they get is only $50. That's about 5%. Okay, that's the retail, so they can sell it at $1,000 to Sears. Okay, this is really honestly all they make, $50. It's a lot of work to make $50. Now the factory to make a refrigerator is based in Juarez, and it cost $100 million for that factory. So they invested $100 million to build refrigerators that make them $50 a pop. Okay, they come to us, and they say, you know what we want to do? We want to put a water filter into our refrigerator. Really? Okay. The water filter is sold at $40, and the profit margin is really good, about $10, and the tooling for the water filter is $1 million. Now, they're making more money than me, except for one difference. This product has an average life in the home of 14 years. And this one has an average life of 1 year. Okay, let's run the numbers. If refrigerator sales are flat, not a growth market. Okay, it isn't. How many homes do not have a refrigerator? None. So the growth of the market is basically equal to the growth of the housing market. Okay? Let's say that this is flat. But each year, the refrigerator that goes into the new homes, 1/14 of all the housing out there is changing their refrigerator. Okay? But they're putting in a water filter. So the first year, they put in, let's call it 1 million refrigerators, and we put in 1 million filters. The next year, it's flat. We'll just do 4 or 5 years here. Next year, I put in 1 million refrigerators, and I have to do 1 million replacement filter elements. And the next year, do I have to take this out very far? My product is growing, even if their product is flat. Okay? Now, I make $10 here, $20 here, $30 here. They're making their original 50, right? 50, 50, 50. What happens? What's my profit going to do? After 5 years, my profits are equal to their profits. Except there's one salient difference between us.
Capital cost.
I'm making the same profit they are, with an investment of 1/100th. Who's got the better ROI? Uh-oh. That's the power of an annuity. I'm looking for a replacement sale because they geometrically rise. Okay? Because an annuity geometrically increases. If people keep on buying insurance policies from me, and they are all locked into 20-year insurance policies, and they're paying, I don't need too many people being born into this world to build a big business, right? Because even if growth of the population is low, I'm growing an annuity. And you know what? We told them that, Michael again. We told them, about 2 years in, we said, have you run the numbers on how this is going to work out? Who's going to be making a lot of money soon? They were so interested in this big box. They were not watching. And then around year 4, did we get a call? We just, what the hell? We're now a filter company that happens to sell large housing. Their profits on the filters were now equal to the profits on the entire refrigerator. they realized my prediction that they were going to become a filter company and forget about their refrigerators became true. And in fact, now, years later, we can predict that they're now like year 10 or something like that. Electrolux is a filter company. They actually did the following. First, they used to fight with us. We don't want to put a filter housing on that refrigerator. We'll increase the cost of the box, make it harder for us to sell. I mean, my God, it's another $60 on the price of the refrigerator. What were they telling us after year 4? Any refrigerator that leaves our company has to have a filter housing. There's no such thing as a refrigerator being sold without a filter housing, because that's where we make all of our money. It took them 4 years to figure that out. Would you take 4 years to figure it out? Yes, you would. If you would spend 20 years in a refrigerator business, right? You would have been locked and loaded into that. Okay? So I'm going to go to LinkedIn and say, you must often disenthrall yourself from your business model. Disenthrall. Yeah.
Quick question. So basically, you guys sold the filters into their machines, right?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they not forbid you to sell your filters to their machine, produce their
We
own?
sold it exclusively to them.
Also, you had an exclusive agreement.
We own the patents. Did I mention I always invent everything and patent everything?
Why can they not license the patent for you? And
We weren't interested. We're just happy the way we are.
that was smart.
Let me ask you something. These are appliance companies and car companies. What do they do to vendors? That, okay? So we used to have a vendor that we used to know real well called Mid-South. And Mid-South made the ice maker. Ice makers are plastic, sheet metal, okay? You know what they would do to Mid-South when they arrived? It was sort of like arriving in North Korea. I'm sorry. And Koreans do that.
No, it's just funny.
There are price reductions! 6% every year. If you don't give it to us, we'll replace you immediately. What was happening with us?
They had no other choice because you own the patent.
No choice. And who was making all the profits for the company? What patent was making them all money? So how were we treated? It was arriving in Paris.
So
We were in Paris and they were in North Korea.
So you guys split the profits from the.
No. We were smart. We said, it's $10.85 for a filter and you can hell or high water, that's the price. You can never get out of it. Now, we did have one thing. I will admit, we had something which we always called the compact, what's the biblical term for it? The covenant. We always kept the covenant. And what the covenant was, is we never increased price. We never made them regret the deal. We had them, but fairness dictated that we had a covenant with everyone. We never increased price. So they never, ever felt we took advantage of them. Okay? So the covenant was, you gave me this deal, and I knew much more than you, and I made much more money than you, but the bottom line is what? We will never screw you. So that was the covenant that we had with all of our customers. We didn't increase prices. You cut the deal, you knew that you had a price stabilized contract forever.
Did you ever deal with consumers directly, or was it always like business to business?
These are B2B plans, okay? And you'll notice that I like B2B. There's a lot of reasons I recommend that you as an entrepreneur stay away from B2C kind of businesses. B2C requires, well, I mean, am I telling you anything? It's obvious, okay? Do you want to deal with the people you meet on the street? No. Organizations are much more reasonable to deal with than individuals. And, organizations are themselves troubled. Many of them are psychotic, obviously, as organizations. But the point is that you can understand them, okay? I don't need to make one sale to an Electrolux to make $1 trillion. How many people do I have to sell? How much infrastructure do I have to build to reach out to 1 million people? Okay, so I'm selling 1 million refrigerators, right? Nominally, something in that range. And so, I mean, what do I want me to do? Sell 1 million people or sell one guy? Think about it for a while. Okay. You're allowed 1 second to answer. I mean, that's it. You always want B2B if you can. And we call that strategy always OEM. You always want to try to do an OEM deal before you go to a B2C. Always you want to say, I want to do an OEM deal.
What is that stand for?
Original equipment manufacturer. What that means is I want to sell to other businesses. Okay? How many people really want to ball bust their way into a branded consumer product? Raise your hands. I want to build a consumer product and go crazy and spend my life branding and, but you like your name on Facebook. But really, be realistic. I mean, anybody in this room is probably not, going to be working for Coca-Cola. Okay? So what I'm saying by that is if you want to be an entrepreneur, then in all likelihood, the easiest thing to do is to invent and do B2B, not to try to do B2C. First of all, what does B2C require other than software? Marketing. Mega dollars usually. Even in software, I really actually disagree with some of the people. For every Facebook, there are unfortunately about 100,000 other guys who don't make it. So what you have to realize is that the problem with software is there's a tiny number of real big hitters. There's a fairly good number of medium, and then unfortunately, there is 100,000 groups that don't make it at all. And that's not the kind of hit rate I want. What's the hit rate I'm going to try for? It's not going to be 1%, it's not going to be 10%, it's going to be way up there, okay? When I go in, I'm going to have these 4 characteristics, and with those 4, I'm going to win. Always. Now, I will tell you something. Don't compromise on the 4, you will win. Compromise on them, you will not. And so the result is, spend the time to make an excellent idea. Spend the time. I often see people who say, "Oh, jump on the first one I really like." Don't do that. I did that when I was young, so I can tell you honestly, I took a few years on that one route, okay? Don't do that. So now I go look at hundreds of ideas and pick very carefully until I find the perfect one. Now they are never presented to you with all 4 characteristics. You have to go, Simone's here, right? We always look at it and go, but the idea is crummy, but if you flip it over, turn it upside down, and then it looks good, right? Yeah, so the idea is always presented to you, or comes to you, in a really maladroit, kind of ugly, nasty way. And the point is, turn it around and work your business methods until you come up with a plan where all 4 characteristics are assured. Then you're not taking risks with your life. Yes?
Your case with the water filter amazes me, but the question I'm having is, why would the lecturers choose to do exclusive reviewing with you, not have it open so that they can actually choose other vendors and then drive your prices down?
Okay.
They locked themselves in. Was it a contract for a period of?
Let me ask you something. If you negotiate with Exxon, who has the advantage?
Exxon, obviously.
Exxon. Any other answers before I go over? Yeah. Exxon has the advantage, except they don't. Now the reason they don't is 2 things. They have more legal apparatus. They have more money than you. They have everything except one thing. The entrepreneur is an entrepreneur. Exxon is composed of asset managers. Uh-oh. That kills their advantage in one fell swoop. I actually negotiated many deals with big companies, General Electric, and they don't win. So Electrolux lost. Why? I know the value of the annuity. Did they ever sell an annuity when they were in the refrigerator business? No. So did they know that the value 5 years later would be radically different from what they were thinking? Yes, they didn't know that.